Okay, in the previous video, we briefly looked at elements, what an element is, and we wrote our first element, the H1 element down to the H6 element, then the P element. Still on element, we'll be looking at attributes of an element. So attributes of element provide additional information about the HTML elements. An attribute element have a HTML element have attributes, and these attributes provide additional informations about the elements. They are always specified in the starting tags, and they usually come in value name pairs like. We'll be looking at some example. Then the first attribute we are looking at is the href attribute. This href attribute is contained in the A element known as the anchor element. I'm going to give you an example here with something that will be easier for you to understand. So the A element, once you type A and enter, this is the anchor element, also known as the A element, and the href comes with it automatically. This is the attribute. What this attribute does is that you use it to make link. For example, you are working on a website and you want to redirect that particular site to another website. You can use the anchor element to make your redirection. Let me just give you another brief overview. Let's say this website I'm working on now, I'm creating my first website and I want to link my Facebook. I want to link Facebook to it. All I need to do is I'll just have to attach the link of Facebook to this href. Then in the between the opening and closing tag, I'll just type Facebook. Now let me just add the link here. I think https://facebook.com. I think this is Facebook address. Then I'll save. When I save, I come back to my browser. Remember, whatever you are doing, you want to see what you are doing, you view it in your browser. So I'll refresh. When I refresh, you can see it's Facebook. When I click on this, it will take me to Facebook website. It will take me directly to Facebook website. So this is the href attribute. Let's look at another attribute. We have the src. The src attribute, the image tag is used to embed an image in an element, and the src attribute specifies the path to the image to be displayed. Let's say you want to add an image to your website. You have to use the image element. Like I told you in the previous video that the image, some elements are self-enclosing. They don't have closing tag. They just have one tag, which is the self-enclosing tag. Like the image element, it doesn't have a closing tag, but it comes with its default attribute, and it is used to attach image in a website or anywhere in the web. So for example, now let's look at the src attribute in an image element. I'm going back to my VS Code and I'm going to type the img, that is how image element is written, and enter. As you can see, it comes with the attribute by default. So I'll just say, okay, I want to add an image to my website. I'll just go to Google and browse. My network is bad, so let me just browse any image. Let me see if I can get any image. The network is bad. So when I get a link to a particular image, all I need to do is come back to my VS Code, add it to this, in between this quote after the src element. Once I add it, then the alt attribute, what it does is that it helps to tell a user this is the image. Let's say maybe you clicked on a website, you are browsing, or maybe let's say go.com, you went to go.com, you are trying to view news and the image is taking time to load. The alt element, the alt attribute will display the name of the image before the image fully displays. Once the image displays, the alt attribute will disappear while the image shows. So this is what the attribute does in an image element. We look at another attribute. Okay, There are two ways to specify URL in the src attribute. Like I told you, you can collect a link to an image and attach, or if the image is in your computer, you can just go direct src and get it in your computer. I'll show you how to. Let me pause my video and show you. Okay, let's say I want to add an image to this website. I want to explain the absolute URL and relative URL. So when you are dealing with the absolute URL, it deals with getting a source to either an image or anything you want to attach in your website from an external link. But relative URL deals with what you get in from your computer. For example, I have a folder here, and in my folder I have my index.html file. Then inside the same folder I have an image screenshot. So now I want this screenshot image is in my system. I'm not getting it from an external link, so I want to add it to my site. So all I need to do is that I will use the img element, which is the image element. Then the source now is in this folder, so slash, I already have it here, enter. Then I'll just give a brief overview. Let me just say screenshot. I'll just say screenshot. Screenshot. Then I'll save. I'll come back to my browser. Okay, I'll run it. Run with my Chrome. So you can see the image didn't show, but you can see screenshot here showing. So this is what ALT does. The image, when the image doesn't show, the text from the ALT will show, but when the image shows, the text won't show. So this is just the difference between the src and the ALT. Then secondly, like I said, the absolute URL and the relative URL. I'm getting this link, this image from my system. So when I'm getting it directly from my system, it is known as the relative URL. But if I'm getting it from an external source, maybe direct from online, https / the image address and all that, that is an absolute URL. So that's let's look at another attribute. We have the width and the height attribute. The image tag should also contain the width and height attribute, which specify the width and the height. So even in the image like the example here, let's see their own example. My network is giving me issues, so I'll just use their VS Code so that it will be easier for us. So the image source now, this is their image they uploaded. You can add the width, you can change the size, you can change the height if you don't want to your desirable size. So this is the same thing, network issues. So but just understand the concept. The width is used to like increase the size of the image. The height is just the height to reduce it or to increase it to your desired test. Then the next attribute is the ALT, which I explained earlier on. They say the required ALT attribute for the IMG image element tag, it specifies an alternate text for an image. That is, when the image is not displaying, the ALT text will display. When the image is displaying, the ALT text won't display. Then the next attribute is the style attribute. Now the style attribute is used to add style, color, or any design to your HTML element. But because we'll be dealing with style in CSS, we'll just skip this. I'm just giving you an insight on the attribute, HTML attribute. But when we get to CSS, you understand styling better. So you can still add style to your HTML element as an attribute. Then we have the AL language attribute used for language. Then we have the title attribute. Title, like I told you, you can use it to indicate the title of the document you're writing. Like in our previous slide, I told you that here, where you see document, you can change the document to the name of the file you are working on. So let's see the next one. Then you say we suggest always use lowercase attributes. So whenever you are working on with elements or anything, use lowercase. It's not that when you use uppercase it won't work. Uppercase will work, but conventionally Lowercase is best recommended and easier, like readable.